Always, sometimes, never. Most things in life, especially in CQB, fall in the sometimes category. To that end, the absolute best way to manage recoil on your rifle is to have a good stock weld. Everybody knows this. Where we start to have issues is where guys don't want to break that rule and say they've got limited space, it's a more narrow hallway, they're rolling a door, whatever it may be, or they just don't understand spacing as well as they think they do. They start to come in here and now A, they're exposing their muzzle to somebody potentially grabbing it, or B, exposing their muzzle so that if I'm in there and I see your muzzle coming in first, what am I doing? I'm shooting you through the fucking door jamb, bud. You're done skis, dude. Take a nap. What's up, guys? This is Kyle with Dirty Civilian, here interviewing Drew and Josh. Who are you guys?
Hey, what's up, guys? We know you love the CQB Every Civilian Should Know video. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do like a if that was 1.0, we're going to do a 1.5 version. We've got one of our good buddies, Kyle, here, who happens to be in town this week. We're doing a bunch of different stuff with him, and he's going to expand on or give you a little bit of a couple extra nuggets of wisdom when going through and clearing your house after you've like gotten to know your house really well. So Kyle, you want to tell a little bit about yourself, what your background is, kind of like why this is your thing?
Yeah, so it all started back in 2019. I bought Photoshop and I faked DD214, and ever since then I've been pretending to have been a Ranger. I did a couple deployments there. I've done a few deployments doing some other stuff. Still busy working. So definitely nerd out over it, as you guys will probably see depending on how into the weeds I get with certain things. But essentially, I watched the video with Drew, all really good information. I just wanted to add a few finer points, if you will, of just small things to focus on in terms of self-coaching and working on things ourselves at home.
Cool.
Nice. Cool.
And also big thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. You guys keep us rolling every month. And also to Americana Pipedream, who has the dopest Flectarn in the game. Big thanks to those guys for supporting the channel. We appreciate it. So we've already got the door open.
Let's get to it.
So we just go in?
Cool.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so just kind of expanding on the way that we view the principles of CQB, for lack of a better term. We're really just focused on our angles of exposure, determining and making decisions based on our probability threat, and then task isolation, which is more of a very heavily on one-man CQB, but then of course definitely takes place with a team environment. So the best way that I like, or the way that I found best demonstrates angles of exposure is pieing or rolling a door, because it is simply that. You're opening the angle up slowly and you're oriented at the angle you're exposed to as you're exposing yourself to it. Now, common mistakes we see that break the security piece, the security rule of this, is guys lose sight of the angle that they're actually working. So the angle I'm working is off the apex of this door jamb. And the reason for that is, as I step out, that's the angle I'm being exposed to, right? So the way that I like to do it, especially when guys start to ask about like footwork and stuff, is like, stop. Just stop worrying about that. Focus on the end state goal here, which is what?
See the guy before he sees you?
Or same time, right? But as he sees me and as I see him, my muzzle is pointed where?
Right at him.
At that guy, right? So we're not breaking the rule. We're not getting sucked into our optic and cutting off our field of view, but we're simply footwork aside, blah, 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 blah. I'm working the angle as I expose myself to it. Make sense?
Yep.
So that takes a lot of the confusion of footwork out for a lot of people. Some people do still need it. I don't like to talk about it because as soon as you start talking about it, the guys that don't need it are focused on their feet.
Sure.
We shouldn't be focused on any of that shit. Any of that stuff. We should be focused on what's going to kill us first, and that's what can see us before we see it. So what happens when we start to break off of working the apex effectively is guys will get really sucked in to like 6 inches or so off the door frame. And they're working, and now they're behind the curve, because from this position, the front of my muzzle is exposed to an angle that I'm not looking at. So a good way to show you exactly what I mean is you can see that line, the shadow being created by the door jamb around the door. We're moving at that pace, but we're oriented at that angle, okay? So the way that we deal with this is the same way we deal with literally anything else, whether it's center fed, corner fed, hallway, opposing danger areas, stairwells, whatever it is. As something can see me or my teammates or my one friend or whoever, I need to have a gun on it. The exception being, or the time to move on is, it's not a threat, it's a threat that's been dealt with, or there's a bigger priority elsewhere and we can't handle that and this. Fair enough?
Do you think people are, where do people fall into this? Is it they're finding a fascination with something deeper inside of the room and their feet keep moving laterally across the doorway while they're pulled into something at a different angle? Or do they just not understand this this idea at all and they're pieing completely incorrectly?
I would say it's a bit of both. For one, it probably feels very unnatural for a lot of people to be so sucked into a piece of cover or concealment where they're so focused on like, I need to see past it. They're not remembering that they need to be seeing just past it, right? Obviously, we don't want to start just sending rounds into stuff. We do need that offset, but we need to cut that angle as tight as we can. Additionally, absolutely, somebody might come around, they're working this, and then I see a closed door from right here. They might immediately be like, oh shit, what's in that room? What's gonna come out of that door? Meanwhile, they're opening themselves up entirely to that deep corner on the back left.
Gotcha.
And so absolutely, whether I'm rolling or whether I'm doing a very slow and deliberate pie, as I see that door, I'm filing that away from myself so that I know, hey, when I come in this room, I don't want to walk right in front of it, right? So read your terrain as it opens itself up, but you need to prioritize the unknown.
Yep.
Gotcha.
When the known is cleared. So let me clarify. If there's a known threat, they are a much higher priority than an unknown. It's a known threat. So just a little caveat on that.
Sure. So one of the questions that I've seen pop up is people advocating for having a light on your rifle, either on the right or the left side, depending on, well, my strong side is my right side. I want to pie off a door with my right shoulder over the door frame, and people put a ton of thought into never put your rifle light on one side over the other, because then if I am cutting an angle here, and I'm asking you because I don't know the actual answer to this, if my light was over on this side, I wouldn't be able to turn that light on. And now we're getting into white light stuff, which is not this video itself, but how far do you take gear as a whole before you even step into like, now we're doing CQB stuff? Mm-hmm. Is that a concern?
So the tricky thing with that is now we're tailoring our equipment setup to one specific problem, right? But we need to tailor our equipment, what we buy, how we set it up, et cetera, to the most broad, specific to our needs stroke that we can. So what I mean is like, if I'm doing something in this region of the country, I would go with a longer barrel, right? So it's not, I'm not going to an 18 inch, I'm not going to a 20 inch, right? But I'm leaning into my more likely needs, and I am more likely going to just simply need the capability of activating my light naturally than I am gonna worry about that finite of a position.
Sure.
So my whole thing, just because we're talking about it on equipment setup, is I lean more towards using my left hand to manipulate and operate everything. I do still want to be able to use my right hand because in terms of switching shoulders, this isn't a time I would do it, but like a static position I'm holding security from, absolutely I will. So I want to be able to use it with both hands, but I prioritize what I'm more likely to need.
Next question.
Does that answer your question?
It does, it does. Next question, back to actually moving around and pieing around a doorway or an unknown. How fast are you going?
There's two limiting factors, the rate that you can process information and the rate that you can accurately engage. So everybody's gonna move at a different speed. So that, I mean, A, there's a genetic component. B, there's a repetition component. Everyone's gonna be able to get better than they are when they first start. Some people are gonna get better faster. Some people are gonna get much better in the long run. Some people are gonna get pretty good, and that's kind of how it is. So a good way to practice this at home, hopefully you've got a friend, training partner, whatever, is set up like get the Curtis or Sobek Designs tap packs and like set up no shoots and shoots and use the Mantis system and get reps actually processing information. So with that, another curveball to add to that is set it up so that it's in depth. Because another thing that we see a lot of students do is they're only seeing the room in front of them. But if there's a room with a door that leads to a follow-on room, they're we'll have entire human beings standing in there and they don't see them when they're first practicing these things. So we're controlling the angle we're opening ourselves up to, whether we're doing a slow pie or rolling the door, whatever phrase you want to use, or a center step and go. If I'm moving down a hallway, if I'm going in a corner fed, center fed, whatever, it doesn't change. As I'm open to an angle, I'm clearing it. It's that simple. It's not just as soon as I commit to the room. So we're controlling the angle and we're reading what's in front of us and we're making the best decision possible based on what's in front of us. So Drew talked about it. He's like, sometimes, especially in one man, it's like 60-40. You got to go with your best bet. However, what people miss in a lot of sterile shoot house training environments is they don't have any stimulus. So hopefully you will have some sort of stimulus to drive you in an intelligent direction. With no stimulus, we're just left to like, what have I cleared versus what have I not? And that's, corner feds are beautiful because you can clear 90% of it and then prioritize your last unknown. Make sense?
Yep.
It does.
So show me what that looks like.
A corner fed?
Yeah.
Cool. So taking into account, is this a sterile room? Like this is my only room, or do I have the hallway with 2 open doors down the hallway?
Let's start with just a
Because
sterile.
that's where I'm at. That's where we start to get a little complicated, right?
Let's start with just sterile.
This is all I've got. I want to limit the amount of problems I have to deal with at a time. Let's say time is finite here. I'm in a little bit of a rush, but I don't need to scream into that room. I'm going to go at a nice steady pace. It's sterile, so I'm going to read as much as I can from the outside. Coming in, this left corner is my unknown, so I'm prioritizing that. Stopping short so that I'm not walking past this closed door. Reading the terrain, right? So I saw that door from roughly that position, filed that away. I need to stop short on this wall, but I need to prioritize A, that red zone behind the bookshelf, and B, that last corner.
Gotcha.
Make sense?
Why are you not stepping towards your unknown? Because
So there's multiple reasons, right? While I know we agreed this was my sterile issue,
Right.
Still in the back of my mind is there's a hallway, there's a hallway, there's a hallway. If I stay on that wall, I'm still exposed down the hallway I haven't cleared. So there's that. Now, if I had an opposing door, if this is halfway down a hallway, I got an open door right there, where am I going to want to go?
out of the doorway.
I'm going to want to go there, right? But all of that aside, let's say that I have no problems outside of this room. Personally, sorry for hitting the mic. Personally, I would rather commit, orient to my last unknown, and move along this fucking wall than go direct to it. Because I'd rather be harder to hit, because he has to see me come in, orient to me, decide he's going to shoot me, and shoot me while I'm moving. I'm coming in with one spot, and I'm ready to go. Action or reaction. I know when I'm coming, you don't.
So basically what you're saying is there's so much other stimulus and we live in a 3-dimensional world. The answer is not always, this is the rule, you always have to stick to it.
Yeah.
You're saying there's more going on. Is there a hallway here that I'm concerned about?
Yeah.
Is there an opposing door on the other side that I'm concerned about? When in reality, this is my biggest unknown and it's harder to hit a target that's moving laterally as opposed to getting bigger and closer towards you as you walk towards it.
Yep.
When you say rabbit, for all of like the people that don't know the terms.
rabbit, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
can you break that down?
Running the rabbit is coming in, and instead of going down the breech wall, you're going the wall perpendicular to the breech. Perpendicular meaning the doorway is my breech, this is perpendicular. That is my breech wall because it is the wall the door is on.
Gotcha. Cool.
So running the rabbit, shooting across.
I'd heard it before.
I don't think you have.
I have.
I don't think you even know what rabbits are, Drew.
They're delicious.
Fair. Okay, so running the rabbit. Questions on that? Did I answer your questions?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Now, do you want to see it no longer sterile? I have other things to worry
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
Yep.
Let's add in just the hallway.
Okay, cool. Let's go back out. Before you guys saw sterile room, we'll just say it was a terminal end of a hallway. I had enough room to work the breach as much as I wanted. Now I have open door, closet, closed door, and then I can see an opening. Something is down there. That's a lot of problems. I don't want to deal with that, or I don't want to put my back to that many problems at all if I can avoid it. So this is where I'm a big fan of the center step. And I'll talk about the center step. I'll talk about common mistakes, how to avoid them, and how ultimately a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time it just turns into a button hook. Okay, so center step broken down is I'm not center of the doorway. This is where I see a lot of people do the center step that way. The problem with that is you're A, biting off a fuck ton at once, and B, you're no longer effectively working that angle. Now you're center and you're looking at 12. If I come up and continue to collapse my sector like I'm doing a button hook right here, 12 o'clock is good. I've seen, because it's a corner fed, only about 25, 30% of the room. I'm coming up. As I'm coming up, I'm continuing to work the apex of this door. If I need to, I'll break down a little bit to clear the door jamb and move on from there. Always, sometimes, never. Most things in life, especially in CQB, fall in the sometimes category. To that end, the absolute best way to manage recoil on your rifle is to have a good stock weld. Okay? Sure. Everybody knows this. Where we start to have issues is where guys don't want to break that rule and say they've got limited space, it's a more narrow hallway, they're rolling a door, whatever it may be, or they just don't understand spacing as well as they think they do. They start to come in here, and now A, they're exposing their muzzle to somebody potentially grabbing it, or B, exposing their muzzle so that if I'm in there and I see your muzzle coming in first, what am I doing? I'm shooting you through the fucking door jamb, bud. Yep. You're done skis, dude. Take a nap. So, big thing with the center step is give yourself the space that you need. Because a lot of people on center step, they want to come up here, and now they're already over penetrating the room. Okay? The other thing, as I talked about, is we're not going here where we're biting all of this off. We're essentially just doing our little button hook roll to here and committing to entry. Okay? So the difference is I know I don't want to waste time working this door because I have all these problems. From here, I'm going, this fucking sucks, but I'm going to get in here, close that angle out so I'm not exposed to all of those things at once. Task isolation, I want one problem at a time, and I'm committing to entry. But I'm doing it as intelligently as I can. I'm still coming up, muzzle ready to fight if I need to. I'm not over penetrating the threshold, and I'm just biting off a little at a time.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And I notice you're keeping your muzzle oriented up pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, people, I see a lot of people, as soon as they start to get close to this door, they feel the need to like come in here and snap. Now, if I have somebody in front of me, sure, the timing might be rough so I can get my gun in there quick and I drive the gun down if I'm at a high port, low port, whatever, I'm having to move it. If I'm the one man or I'm by myself, there's no reason for me not to have my muzzle at a position that I can effectively engage from. Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
It just means that you have to be aware of your space, and you can't be working in, you can't be pieing off the door right here, because you're either going to be over penetrating into the room or you're going to be bumping into that. So you have to at least know what space you have to work with your rifle if it is going to be attached to your shoulder.
Yep. And so that's the key, if it's going to be attached to your shoulder. So there may be times where Drew or Josh, come work this door.
Go ahead, dude.
It's your door.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay. I'm going to be your two man.
Okay.
And I'm going to take all the space that I need because now we're in a really tight, narrow hallway.
Right.
And we have very limited space.
Right.
Okay, now on you. I'll just protect you from those
Okay.
doors down there.
With me? Yep.
Okay, so it's people want to pretend like, oh, I've never had to take my fucking stuck out of my shoulder. Well, you've never worked a tight space. And there are times where it might be tight enough where you go, shit, man. Right? Because we have these tools. So why aren't we using them? So while we have all this vast space and we don't need to break out of our shoulder, maybe the last bit coming through that doorway. Now, not so much if we've worked all the way across. We can kind of just feed our muzzle in there, but we don't always have that space. And is it better at this range? What would you rather do? Let that guy be at an even further advantage timing-wise, or go from like, well, I'm not stacking them, but I'm still A-zone?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, what's our end state goal?
Put the threat down.
Put the threat down first, right? Why are we going to try to give him an advantage?
Gotcha. So moving slower and less consistent with a stock in your shoulder is can produce a worse result than just working with the space that you have and still getting good hits at the speed that you can move. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, more or less. So in simpler terms, I don't want to prematurely expose myself for the sake of recoil management. Because if I get shot before I see that guy because I'm sticking my muzzle through the door, what good have my splits or my grouping been anyways? I'm fucking dead.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. Let me see you guys understanding angles of exposure in task isolation, right? And you kind of just saw it. You can take all the space that you want. This is where I want you to enter, but your closed door, your closet, open door, and then your opening are all in play. Okay. So whoever's two-man needs to protect the one-man, okay? I'm not giving you a tactic. I'm just giving you a job. Okay. All right? So let me see you do it.
You want two-man or one-man?
Two-man.
All right. Okay. I'll be your two.
You good?
Yep, good.
Oh. With me?
Okay.
And in hindsight, I ran the breech wall, which...
How about climb this couch?
Did you?
Yeah.
Did I?
You just gonna let that chair boss you around?
No, I
kick
would've-
it out of the way,
I
dude.
would've kicked it.
Disrespect your surroundings.
Yes.
I heard that in a song.
That's a great song.
Yeah.
Who
Who's
sang
it by?
it?
I don't know.
It's that's like the drop though.
Respect your surroundings.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, Josh, you were kind of AARing yourself. What felt weird? What were you getting at?
Well, what I realized is that I did not run the rabbit. I didn't give him the best chance to do a good job. And I also did not give myself the best chance of doing a good job because I step center and ran the breech wall.
Yeah. So you still did the right thing, and you came in you went opposite at the guy in front of you, which is one of those sometimes, right? That's a very common, majority of the time, that's a safe bet. But I'm not for rules because if breaking a rule means you're in a safer position, then break the fucking rule. But in this instance, it was good, especially because you do have that closed door there. Then you collapsed to your center. You guys both had effective, from what I could tell from the outside, it looked like you guys both collapsed inward, so that was good. Sure. Okay, now, Drew, I want you to be the one man. Josh, be the two man. And what I want you to think about, because you're setting the pace, so you guys went too fast. I'm not going to tell you to slow down. What I want you to do is move as smoothly as you can.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. You good?
With you?
Okay. With me?
All right.
That looked much better. How did that feel?
Felt a lot better on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I still pushed past this door. Maybe not such a good idea,
Yeah.
but
Well, I mean, 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other, right?
Sure.
It's a closed door. We're bringing us back down to reality, right? Like this is somebody's personal home. We know the layout. Like maybe one of you is like, dude, that's a literal like closet. And probability of threat tells me that I need to prioritize this big open area before I worry about the closet. Okay. There's your mulligan. Now, because you guys saw me kind of demo it, now I want to see you guys apply it. You are going to be moving from this down here. So we'll have you guys in cross coverage. Why cross coverage?
Just because we have better angles.
Better angles. I can see that better. He can see that better. So protect your partner. You guys are going to go through that open door-ish opening.
Sure.
Okay. Just protect your partner. No tactics, no TTPs, no SOPs. Just understand angles of exposure and protecting your partner. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
I'll be one man this time.
All right.
Nick, you get set where you want.
Let's take it slow.
Nick, you good?
Yep.
With me?
Good. You want to work that stairs?
We're set.
Have you guys like done a bunch of this stuff? You guys have done a bunch of this stuff together.
So
We have, but
Okay.
we're not.
Yeah. So all in all, like you guys are showing a very clear demonstration that you grasp the concepts. Like this isn't complicated. There's no like, you got to be deliberate. You got to be dynamic. You got to do limb pen, which limb pen is the most commonly poorly done, whatever.
Can you
Just
define?
limited.
Can you define for people what the heck that means?
Okay. All three. So what did I say first? Dynamic?
We'll
Okay,
start
we're
there.
gonna start with
Like a combo terminology.
We're going to start with dynamic. All right. So dynamic is you're committed, you're going in the room, you're going through the building, like you're hitting it. Speed, surprise, violence of action. Those are the cornerstones of dynamic clearance. Time and place, great methodology, works very well. Not a one size fit all. None of these are. You need to understand what the principles these all come from are, so you understand when to hit the gas and when to let off. Dynamic is you're committed. Deliberate. Slow pies, really taking our time. Probably haven't made contact yet, don't have stimulus. Like just something's driving us to just like look around, but we don't want to be super overt. I'm not a fan of it if you have already taken contact or a barricaded shooter, because like going slow, if they're already staring at that door, like why? What are you gaining from that? That's where it's like we get into the game of like, what special tools do we have? What is the rush? Why are we going in there? Do we have to go in there? No? Okay, then don't. Yes, we have to go in there. Okay, what do we have? Frags, bangers, shields, whatever, right? So that's where it's an understanding of like which to use and when, and having a deep understanding of both methodologies so that you understand the principles, which is literally, it boils down to the game of angles, but understanding when you need to hit the gas versus when you don't. And then limited penetration is basically a combination of the two. I've seen it done multiple different ways, but what it comes down to is the extent of people checking rooms is they're just like pretty much working the door and getting out of there. And really that just comes into like direct to threat or push the stimulus or whatever. If I come into a building, I've got a bunch of open doors, it's just me, there's gunshots, screaming, whatever down there, I'm gonna give everything love. I'm gonna look at everything on the way there, but that's my priority. I'm not going in the rooms. Okay, so I don't like subscribing to any specific schools or rules, because rules are meant to be broken, and if we understand security and how to make the best decisions possible based on what we have, then we're ahead of the game. Tailor it to read the terrain, tailor your response to what you have in front of you.
Okay, so I know you just said that it looks like we've done this before, and we have. However, even though we're taking that at a slow pace, and I'm kind of covering his back over here, I'm blocking for him, I still feel like I'm not completely processing everything that's going on in that room. Mm-hmm. What can we do to get better at processing?
Train more.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't.
No, but really to really drive that home, all right, let's translate this to the flat range. Okay, so always we want to be more accurate, always we want to be faster, right? But the key benchmark we want everybody to be at minimum is they don't think about the things they have to do. I'm not thinking about my grip. I'm not thinking about how I draw my firearm. I'm not thinking about my reloads. I'm doing them so I can focus on my targets. I can focus on my my problems in front of me and solving those problems. So your firearms manipulations carry over immensely, right? Because I don't want to be thinking about that when I'm dealing with all of this. B, our movements and our proprioception, understanding, reading these angles, and making that a second nature process. Making the way that I work a door jam, I'm naturally cutting that apex effectively. A second nature process is gonna, A, make me faster in my movements because I'm more efficient, I'm not thinking about them. And then B, it's freeing up mental bandwidth, so I'm processing what I'm seeing faster.
That makes total sense.
Because do you feel like in the moment while we're moving through, you and I have both walked through this structure hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Do you still feel like when we are both moving through it together with guns up, are you thinking through this angle, pie over, what do I see? My footwork, what's Drew doing back over there? Oh, he's that far ahead, I need to scurry up and meet to, like, are you thinking through CQB stuff and now you're not able to actually process what am I seeing?
Like 50%. Like I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to worry about how we handle a gun.
Right.
We've isolated that out in training.
Yep.
The like just making sure I'm staying at your pace and kind of, and this also comes back to we haven't worked a ton together.
No, we haven't.
And just knowing what your movement style is like, I'm sitting here like, you know, looking out of this degree to see, while I should just be boom, laser focused.
Sure.
So I think it's like firearms check, movement 50%, processing 20%.
Yeah, because I feel like you and I could probably go we could set up on a flat range and I could see you set targets down. Like if you challenged us to say, you're not allowed to talk, but you need to go to the flat range and train together, we'd get a lot done.
Oh, we should try that.
Because we have done it so much. And I could see you set up a drill and I already know like, well, this mag needs to be loaded to this capacity because we at least have run that drill so many times. I can recognize a situation. Whereas in a room like this, I feel like, man, I wish I could talk more because I don't know. What do you got, Drew? What's going on? And it feels like there's this unspoken rule where, well, we have suppressors on our guns, so you can't say a word while you're in a house. But we just need to do this so much more, just like we have on a flat range, to where the gun, like you said, this is all natural. Moving with you is all natural, and now I can process just one thing at a time.
So what you said is like a major key to that. You mentioned, okay, I know the drill. I'm going to start loading mags. What is that? It's initiative. That's an initiative-based action. You're taking an action based on what you know needs to be done. And so the whole pull-in security thing, right? Oh shit, he's checking this angle. His back's exposed to this angle. I need to cover that angle. It's just an initiative-based action. It's doing this enough that you find the jobs before they become a problem. So you're reading the terrain ahead of you. Make sense? Yeah. So a common military phrase is initiative-based tactics. But again, for you guys and for the people that are likely watching this, we should just be focused on what actions need to be taking place based on what we're exposed to.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's just priorities of work.
I like the way that you broke that down, though, in terms of like isolating all these things and all these tasks, whether it be the gun or your movement or the structure or the target, like isolating all those things out in training to making them just like second nature, so you can just focus on the most important thing. That's
And dude, could you imagine how difficult this would be if we were both uncomfortable manipulating our safety or getting reps from going from low ready to high ready to compressed ready? Mm-hmm. Like if we had not done rifle to pistol transitions, this, not that we have pistols on at the moment, but this would be so much more complex. Mm-hmm. There really are building blocks.
Even just like, ready up drills.
Sure.
Just being, if a normal person is just having to clear their own house for whatever reason by themselves, not having to worry about, if they've already isolated out and mastered getting your sights on target the moment you press out, well, that's just one less thing they have to think about and worry about, and they can just focus on what's ahead of them.
Right.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
I don't think I had connected those dots before.
Yeah, the goal is to make everything that can be second nature, so that you can focus on and read what's in front of you. Because that's going back to talking about targets in depth, right? Like new students, new guys, whatever, for whatever reason, well, it's not for whatever reason, it's a lack of experience. They're so hyper-focused on Where's my foot? Where's my hand? Where's my gun? Where's my body? Where's my shoulder? Oh shit, I'm getting close to the door. I need more space. Blah, 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 blah. They're not even really paying attention to what's in the room, let alone what's beyond that room. So proprioception, be an athlete. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Yeah.
Play more sports ball.
That's the way to put it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Is there anything else any other like advice or things that people should consider when doing any sort of work inside of a structure, their home, place they work, a mall, when they're just by themselves?
That's like a whole train. Like you just got to train it. You got to train it. You need to, as you're walking throughout any building, and I catch myself doing it all the time. I'm always just collapsing sectors as I'm opening myself. And it's not like I'm like tactically gaming it. It's anytime I walk around a doorway, I'm cutting that angle. Anytime I walk into a building, let's say a gas station, I've seen 12. As I come in, I check 3 or 6, or 3 or 9, depending on what I've got. So get in the habit of, as you are moving through space and new angles are presenting themselves, get in the habit of at least looking at them. Because that's what gives you the ability to work this opposing. So this is a really tight one, right? So already, right here, I'm starting to bite a lot of this off. So it's my my proprioception that's telling me, based on what my peripheral vision is, or where it is in regards to that angle, is telling me that if I continue to go this way, now I'm exposing myself a lot more to that, right? So it's understanding like where you are in space and time. Because all of this is literally just people with guns, space and time. So how do we leverage and minimize the disadvantage we're at by actively clearing against, and we train for worst case, we'll just say some dickhead in a corner staring at that door with a gun ready to go, right? Which hopefully isn't the situation we're dealing with. But if we can minimize the difference, the disparity for that situation, if somebody's not paying attention, they're fucked.
That's a good way to put it.
Unless you're trash and you like forgot to like chamber around or something, then you're probably boned.
Yeah. Good call.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
That's definitely helpful.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this short video. It was easy for us to just kind of ask Kyle. It's a great opportunity for us to spend some time with him and learn, and then have Nick run a camera and have you guys learn through that process as well. So if people watching this video are curious about finding more information through you, having you or some of your cadre and instructors teach, how can they find out more about you and Core Vision?
Yeah, so Instagram is just at Core Vision Training, and the website is corevision-training.com.
Nice.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, you got a bunch of classes coming up this year?
Yeah, so we've got our standard intro to CQB, we've got white light, NVG, we got live fire stuff, vehicle stuff. We're adding more scoped carbine to the calendar really soon, so some long range courses. Got a really busy year.
Good. Cool. And for people who may not know exactly who you are, you have a variety of different instructors from different fields of experience, right?
Yeah, virtually every SOF unit, both Army side, some Marine Special Operations guys, SWAT guys. We've got a very diverse team.
Awesome. Well, it's great. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We have more stuff like this coming out with Kyle, so keep an eye out for it. If you have any questions, hit us up at team@dirtycivilian.com. Thank you for watching.
And I think it's time to do some night vision stuff.
I don't think you guys are quite there yet, but we'll talk about it.
Okay, fair enough.
Good. Sounds good to me.
Cool.
Moving up this type of staircase isn't bad at all.
Right. You can see the doorway before you commit to the stairs.
This is essentially a hallway, yeah. Because you don't have, and you can kind of cheat it. So you could have two dudes low, yep, and then basically they just bump off with one